After analyzing over 2 million in ad spend for ourselves and clients, this is the best way to set up, manage, and of course, profit from your YouTube ads. Hey, I'm Jason, faith-based entrepreneur and marketing geek, and detailed timestamps below because this is going to be a long one, along with a link to our YouTube Ads Playbook to help you follow along with our research process, as well as copy our simple 90-second script so you don't only get people to watch your video ads, but actually take action when they come to your site. Now, if you already have your Google Ads account set up, you're ready to just start making some video ad campaigns, then go ahead and jump to this timestamp where we go into the interface and actually start building the campaign. Otherwise, you're going to need to set up a Google Ads account in order to run YouTube ads. So we'll go ahead and start by heading over to ads.google.com. And so once we're here, we'll go ahead and click on Start Now, and we'll go ahead and log in with our Gmail or Google Workspace account. It doesn't have to be the same email that you use for your channel. And of course, you can always add and remove access later. So don't feel like you're locked in. Like if you use the wrong email here, it's just stuck forever, right? There's only actually one part of this process where we can't undo it. So we'll talk about that in a little bit here. So we'll go and click on Next, and I'll just say I logged in, and then you'll come to a page that looks something like this if you have ever tried to set up a Google Ads account before. So you might have a list of the different accounts you already have access to, or the accounts that you started setting up and haven't completed yet. And so I'm just going to go ahead and click on New Ads Account here. And then once I do, you're going to see one of two different pages. And because Google is constantly testing, there might be other pages as well. So I'm going to do my best to go through both processes so you can see how you can avoid the trick that Google essentially tries to put on every new advertiser, which is instantly start spending money before you are ready. So let's go ahead and go through process number one. So you might click Create New Account, and you might come to a page that looks something like this, where Google is going to try and help you set up a campaign right off the bat. Well, guess what? You're not ready yet, and you want all the features and access. You don't want Google to make decisions for you. This is your hard-earned cash. So what you want to do is go ahead and click on Create Account without a campaign. Then here, you're going to, of course, enter your information. Currency is the one thing you cannot change or undo. So make sure that it's on the right currency that you are going to be paying your Google Ads in. There's a better way to say that. But anyway, so I'll just go ahead and click on Submit here. No, I don't want performance tips or promotions. We all get plenty of emails. I say that as an email marketer. And then you can go ahead and click on Continue to your account. So once you get to a page that looks something like this, it means you're not only done setting up your ads account, but you're in what they call marketer mode or expert mode, and you have all of the features. Now, let's say, for instance, we're going to go back in time. You click this, and instead of the page we showed you before, we go ahead and go to a page something like this. You're going to want to click on Expert Mode. So once you click on Expert Mode, you'll be taken to a page like this. This is where you actually start setting up your campaigns, but don't do this yet because you want full control and access to Google Ads before they start spending your money. So we'll go ahead and click on Create an Account without a campaign. It'll ask for the same type of information. Make sure we say US dollar. No, we don't want marketing emails. We'll go ahead and click on Submit, explore your account. And once you reach this page, you're good to go. So hopefully with whatever Google is doing right now, one of these two paths helps you get to a page that looks something like this. Now, before we start setting up your campaigns and all the bells and whistles, let's go ahead and go over three really important settings, especially when it comes to YouTube ads. So I'm actually going to hop over to one of my ads accounts here, and I'm going to click on Tools and Settings. First thing I want to show you is under Settings and Billing, you can go ahead and click here and you'll be able to update your payment information. So if you ever have a credit card expired, you want to update your banking information, you go ahead and do this here. Google is really not nice when it comes to them not getting paid. So I always make sure that I have at least two payment methods on file, because when they don't get paid, they just like shut down everything, and it can be a real mess and headache to get it turned back on, which is why I like using credit cards for this particular thing. Although do make sure you pay it off each month. All right, not a finance guru, whatever. So under Tools and Settings, we went to Billing. The next thing we want to do is, of course, connect our YouTube channel. So we'll go ahead and click on Linked Accounts here. And you'll see here that we have a bunch of options on different things that we can link up. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on YouTube for Manage and Link. you'll see here that I have 2 channels linked up already. And of course, if you want to link another one, all you need to do is click this plus button and drop in your channel URL, and you'll go through a simple process to verify that you have the authority to access that channel. Now, what's really cool is you can have multiple accounts connected to multiple channels and multiple channels connected to multiple accounts. So if you wanted to set up 3 different ad accounts for some reason and connect your channel to each one of them, you could, and vice versa. So you're not locked in. It's not a one-to-one relationship here. Or if you're doing a collaboration with another YouTuber or another business, you can, of course, ask for access to their channel, which is something sometimes influencers do. They'll get paid to essentially have their channel connected to another account, and then they can run ads to that channel's audience without having direct access to that YouTube channel. That probably doesn't matter at all. I think I'm rambling a little bit, so I'll go ahead and stop. I'll click on Tools and Settings here. And the other thing is Access and Security. This is going to be where you can come in and change the emails and people who have access, as well as, of course, change your access if you want to use a different account. And I said 3 things, but I realized there's one more step to take in order to make sure your Google Ads account is set up and ready to go for YouTube ads. And that's coming up to Tools and Settings one more time and coming down here to Content Suitability. Now, this used to be something you did on a campaign by campaign basis, but long story short, you want to click Expanded Inventory. This is going to allow you to run your YouTube ads across all the available videos on YouTube, whereas Standard or Limited, this is for big budget corporations who are really scared of having their ads show on anything that's remotely controversial or remotely not PC, right? So you want to click Expanded Inventory. This is actually going to lower your costs because you're going to be able to run your ads on videos that the big advertisers who are spending lots of money driving up the prices for the rest of us aren't willing to run ads on. So it's a really good idea to go ahead and click Expanded Inventory. Of course, they have tons of documentation here to help you understand what the difference is between this, but it's YouTube, so it's not like your video ad's going to run on something that's really bad or terrible. And so that's all there is to it, to setting up your YouTube ads account, aka your Google Ads account. And at this point, you're ready to start building your campaigns. Now, let's go ahead, kick things off, build out some campaigns here. I'm going to start inside of my account here, and I'll just start by clicking the blue plus button and click Create New Campaign. Now, something that's counterintuitive here, and you'll notice as we go through this process, is Google's going to try and help us, just like they try and help us with the onboarding process. And we're going to have to continually say, no, that's okay. We know how we want to spend our money, right? So we'll go ahead and click on Create a Campaign without goals or guidance. Now, this is going to be very important, especially when you get into audience targeting. If you've done any research, certain types of targeting doesn't work with certain types of campaigns, and it's all confusing, and Google keeps changing it. And even the interface we're looking at is going away in like 6 months after the recording of this video, allegedly. So things keep changing. But for now, make sure you choose Campaign without goals or guidance. And we're going ahead and going to click Video, and then we're going to click Get Views. In yours, it might say Custom Campaign here, right? They keep changing things, but essentially whatever this first option is should be the correct one. What a terrible tutorial. Whatever's there on your screen, go ahead and do that, right? We'll go ahead and click on Continue here, and we're just making sure that we have all the options available to us so we can test. And of course, the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and drop in a campaign name here. Now, you can name it whatever you want as long as it makes sense to you. Now, personally, I like having a little code to let me know what's being promoted. So PGF means I'm promoting a Google Ads Foundation. We'll go through what that ad looks like. This is going to be YouTube in-stream. 1U just stands for United States. CPV, cost per view, which is what we're going to be bidding. And then we're going to be using in-market audiences for this particular style. And we're going to be targeting people over 35 and all income brackets. Now, I probably didn't need to go through all that, but it's just a little preview of how detailed we can be with our ads, and sometimes how detailed we really shouldn't be with our ads. So before we get into bidding and budgets and networks and locations and all that fun stuff, let's take a quick moment to jump into this campaign diagram and go through the different steps or how Google Ads is actually organized. If you already understand all this, here's the timestamps to skip ahead. So at the very top, what we're working on right now is our campaign. This is where we decide how much we're going to spend per day. This is where we decide how we're going to pay, where our ads are going to be shown in terms of location, and of course, timing and devices. Then at the ad group level, we tell Google who we want to show our ads to. So this is where you start getting into keywords versus placements, in-market, affinity, topics, custom intent, remarketing, all that fun stuff we will get to in a moment. And then we have ads inside of the ad groups. And these are going to be the actual videos that people see. So these can be in-stream ads or discovery ads. We'll get more into, or not discovery, in feed. You can see I'm still using old terms. And whether someone is watching it on YouTube and they can't skip, or they can skip, or they're clicking on your thumbnail and then watching the video, your ads are going to be inside of your ad groups. And so that is a real quick rundown of just like a visual of how Google Ads is organized and what we'll be doing at each level. So let's go ahead, jump back into our campaign here, and we will start with our bid strategy. Now, because we've chosen get views, it's going to lock us into cost per view. So that is, we're going to say, hey, Google, we want to spend 5, 10, 30 cents per every time someone watches our video. And Google says, great, we're going to do our best to get you that. There are other advanced strategies you can use later once you know that your video ad and whatever you have on your website is actually working and converting. So we'll come down here to campaign budget. We're going to change it to daily. And then I'm just going to set it at $5 a day. $5 to $10 a day, because we're going to make multiple of these campaigns, as you'll see, is plenty when it comes to YouTube ads. So we're spending $5. You're probably going to pay 15 cents or less. So here's the approximate amount of views you could get based upon whatever your budget you set. So you can see here, we're going to get a lot of views for very little budget. And so our budget's going to go a long way. We don't need to spend a ton on one campaign to start seeing results. And then of course, when it comes to, well, what counts as a view and how is it paid? We'll get more into the details of that in a little bit here, but just as a quick rundown, if you're running something called in-feed ads, we're going to pay when someone clicks on your thumbnail. And then if we're running skippable in-stream ads, that's those ads that show up, presumably one in front of this one, and you had to wait 5 seconds and then you could skip, you only pay after 30 seconds. And I'll go through that again later. But for now, all that to say, $5 a day is plenty. So let's go ahead and edit this. Obviously, I record these way in the future, so this is probably like a month ago now by the time you're watching this. So what I like to do is I actually like to start my campaigns on Thursdays, and then I'll do that for 2 weeks. And so that way, if I forget for whatever reason to turn it off, which I do all the time with these videos, even though it says demo and I should turn it off, but I just forget. You don't want to have that mistake where you get distracted, you come back a month or two later and you're like, oh, that campaign's still running. How much did Google charge me? Because they won't give you your money back. So we'll go ahead and say 2 weeks. The worst that happens is you forget, and then you have to come back and turn the campaign back on. Now, I'm going to go ahead and uncheck video partners on Google Display Network. Long story short, these video ads just do not work at all. We want our videos to be showing on YouTube itself. You've probably been browsing and you see like an ad auto playing on an article that's on a video that you didn't even want to watch on the site. You don't want to be charged for that view because there's no audio, it's auto playing, and the person's trying to read the article. They're not actually trying to watch a video. So it becomes really distracting. Now, when it comes to your location targeting, you have a couple of options here. So if you're targeting one country, then you can make a list of all the states, territories, or provinces. And so you have, like, let's say United States, and then we target all 50 states. If we were targeting a specific state, territory, or province, then we would want to divide up that area by big cities, neighborhoods, or even counties. And then, of course, if you're just in one local area, you might even use something like radius targeting, zip codes, or cities. The only thing you want to make sure is you always have something in addition to zip code targeting. If you're like, I don't really care, I just want to target one country in general, great. Then just target that country, list out the states, territories, and provinces, and you're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that for now, and I'll just uncheck all of these because I only want to target the United States. And I can click on advanced search here and add locations in bulk, and then I could drop in all 50 states. For time purposes, I won't go ahead and go through that, but that's what I recommend doing so you can start to see which state's territory or province is doing the best in terms of actually enjoying your ads. Now for languages, just go ahead and choose the language that your ad is in and you're good to go, right? You don't have to overthink that too much. Now, this is something that's relatively new, and this is where if you're running in-stream ads, the ads that show up in front of other videos, you can actually have some other video links. We don't want to do this though, because we want people to go to our site and join our email list or buy our stuff. We don't want them watching other videos from us. So go ahead and leave this alone. We can come down here to additional settings. Under devices, we need to set specific devices and uncheck TV screens. Whatever you are doing, please uncheck TV screens. It's just like a vacuum that just sucks your ad spend dry and you will see no results from it. Plus, people can't actually click. They have this little thing where it says send to phone. And then if they're watching, like, let's say on their Apple TV, but then they have an Android, it doesn't always work too well. So we'll go ahead and leave all the rest. You'll be able to see in the future which device is working the best, and then you can turn those on and off. But for now, just let all of the devices run except for TV screens. Now, frequency capping allows you to cap the number of times essentially someone sees your video. Unless you're spending gobs of money, this isn't going to be a problem because there are so many people to target. So we might as well just leave this alone. Ad schedule, if for whatever reason you have office hours and you're running a video ad that requires people to call you, then yeah, sure. Otherwise, for video ads, go ahead and leave that alone as well. And third-party measurement, if you have that, go ahead and go to town with that. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and skip ad group creation and ad creation. So we just create our campaign. So jumping into our diagram, we've done everything at the top up until this point. So we're going to create the campaign, then we're going to get into ad groups and targeting and all that other fun stuff. So jumping back into the interface, I'll go ahead and click on skip ad creation, ad group creation, and ad creation. I should just say skip, right? So we'll go ahead and click on skip. We'll create our campaign. It's scheduled to go live in a few days, which is like way in the past for you now that you're watching this. And we'll go ahead and click on continue to campaign. Now, jumping into our campaign diagram here, when it comes to targeting, this is all done at the ad group level. So whatever you set up in your campaign settings is good to go. Now it's time to just talk about what the heck do we do and how do we tell Google who our ads should show to. That's essentially what we're doing at this level. And there are a lot of options. And what's even more confusing is now Google is actually starting to take away some of the targeting options based upon the type of campaign you set up. Although if you follow the advice on this channel, you've most likely used custom video campaign or get views. So you are going to have access to all of these. But once you try things in the future, you might find that some of these go away. So let's go through the two different types. We have targeting people and we have targeting content. So targeting people, Google's doing its, creepy tracker thing and figuring out what our online-based activity is, and then putting us into different groups using things like in-market audiences, affinity audiences, and some of these other targeting options as well. But the point is they're looking at people's behavior and saying, hey, I think they're interested in this topic, or hey, I think they're looking to buy this product or service. And so we can essentially go to Google and pull one of these off the shelves, and most likely you're going to find a couple that are good fit for whatever your business is. Now, this is targeting people. Targeting content, on the other hand, is all about the videos, websites, or articles, or blogs, or whatever that you want your ads to show up next to, or around, or with. And so here, you're just saying, hey, Google, go find this type of content for me. I don't care who's looking at the content. So in one regard, with people, we're following the person, right, based upon their activity. And the other, we are just targeting content, and we don't really care who is actually looking at that content. Now, of course, there's pros and cons to each. So when it comes to YouTube ads in general, if we were to put it in a reverse pyramid of what's really specific and what's really broad, when it comes to targeting content, that's going to be broad. Why? Because we don't actually know why those people are looking at that content. They might have just looked up that video for a friend, or they're just looking for a couple videos on your particular topic, and then they're going to go off back to their usual thing. Whereas as we get towards the bottom of the pyramid, where we can actually target people based upon interactions with our channel or business, although we'll set those up later because it takes a while for those to be big enough. But when we're looking at things like custom intent or looking at in-market, here we're targeting people based upon their recent behavior. And so as opposed to just saying, hey, show my, cool dog treats to anyone who's looking up things about dog training, we could say, no, show my dog treats to people who you know are dog owners and have purchased treats in the past. Obviously, there's a little bit of wiggle room there, but that's just an example of how broad or specific we can be. And of course, before we move on, we need to answer the question of all these targeting options, really, which one is the best? And not only the best, which one is the best to start with? And of course, it depends. Okay, I'm just kidding. Don't you hate it when people say, you ask them a question, they're like, oh, well, I don't know, it depends. No, let's have a definitive answer here. If you're starting out with YouTube ads campaigns, you want to generate leads and sales, use and market audiences. Just start there, right? That's the quickest, fastest way to get up and running. Then your next step will be custom intent, which of course is something that will require a little bit of research and setup, but it's relatively simple kind of once you get the hang of it. So that does it for the overarching, what are the targeting types? What are our options? And of course, which one is actually the best to start with? But before we get to that, let's go ahead and start off with demographics. So even though custom intent and in-market are my top picks for where to start, let's go ahead and just jump in to the ones that we're probably going to skip, just so you know the other options here. And of course, demographics is going to be the broadest one on this list. And when it comes to demographic targeting, we have 3 worldwide options and one that only applies to the US. So of course we have age, we have the 2 real genders, then we have parental status, and finally we have income brackets based upon US data. So if you're running ads outside the US, forget this last one because it's just not going to be helpful and apply because it's only based upon the United States. Now, as cool as it sounds to say, hey, I want to target moms over 40 who are in the top like 30 or 20% income bracket in the States, it sounds really cool in theory, but then when you actually run the campaigns, you'll find that you will hardly get any views or impressions, or your view count or your cost per view is astronomically high. And that's because the more things you check off here at this level, the more expensive your ads are going to be. And so what I recommend doing for whatever your business or channel is, only uncheck 18 to 24 because that age bracket probably isn't buying your products or services. And after that, just leave everything else alone because Google's automatically going to gather all this data for you. 3 or 6 months, come back and look and say, okay, you know what? It looks like females really do purchase more of our stuff, or it looks like people under 30 really don't like our stuff, right? And just let the data validate what you believe instead of trying to pay a premium before you know for sure that what your inclinations are of your audience. So that does it for demographic targeting. Really, it's not something you're going to use very much. The next one is life events. Now, life events is where Google has made this nice little list for us. I do it like this, it's over there. So this nice little list for us where we can essentially target people based upon a major life event. Now you can see here, these are pretty limited. Like this is all the events, right? So if they don't apply directly to your business, then just go ahead and skip it. Now our next targeting option, coming back to our pyramid here that you're most likely going to test in the future, unlike the first two, is going to be affinity audiences. And this is where Google has grouped people essentially based upon their interests and hobbies. And so they are looking at the content and types of sites people are going to and inferring what they're interested in. And so unlike in market, which we'll get to in a moment, this is just based upon general interests. So this isn't saying they're looking to buy something right now. This is saying, as in a general sense, this person likes looking at websites about dogs, or this person likes looking at websites about homesteading or home decorating, right? So whatever their kind of general interests or hobbies are, whenever they pick up their phone and just start scrolling at night, that's what affinity audiences kind of represents. And so there are a lot of options in there. And if you decide to go ahead and test these, you just want to make sure that you are being very specific. So if you're looking at an affinity audience, you're saying, well, they might be interested, then the answer is no, don't use that affinity. But if you're looking and you say, well, I sell dog treats and these are dog lovers, perfect, let's go. Like that's how clear and concise affinity audience should be, just like our next one, in market, which is of course my favorite place to start. Now in market is essentially Google saying, hey, these people are not only interested in this topic, they're actively looking to buy. How does Google know? I don't know. That's why they make billions of dollars, because they know and the rest of us don't. But for now, we could just take advantage of the fact that they figured out who is looking to spend money. They're ready to whip out their credit card, which means it's time to show them our product or service because presumably we're a good fit for whatever they are looking for. And of course, here's another scroll of all of the options you have available to you. Again, you want to be very specific with these. So if you're looking at one, you're like, well, maybe that fits, then just don't bother using it. Use one of the other targeting options or use custom intent. But before we get to those, one more, I'm just teasing custom intent because it's the coolest thing ever when it comes to targeting. But we have to get through these other ones too, is combined audiences. So let's say we wanted to target parents who recently moved or starting a business and they're in the market for minivan, truck, or SUV, right? So as you can see here, we could layer those together so we only target people who match every single one of those criteria. And so there's a lot you could do here with combined, and it's kind of a good and a bad thing. The good thing in, let's be super specific. We know exactly who we want to target, but it can also be a big trap because sometimes we can make assumptions like someone who just moved also has the money to buy a truck, right? Like that probably someone who took out a mortgage isn't like running off to CarMax or their local auto dealer to take out another loan for another big purchase, right? So we do want to make sure, and I'm of course being facetious, but we do want to make sure that we don't pigeonhole ourselves in Google until we know that those audiences work, which is why you want to use that broad targeting like affinity and in-market, and even test some demographic or life events, make sure that they work, and then start combining them together. So to do that, I'm going to jump into the Google Ads interface here. I'm going to click on Tools and Settings, and I'm going to click on Audience Manager. This is the same place to go when we set up custom intent. And of course, it's giving me a bunch of warnings. And we can go over here to Combined Segments. And we'll go ahead and click the blue plus button, New Combined Segment. We can give it a name, but then you can see here in the drop down, we can go ahead and start going through the demographics, affinity, in-market life events, and we can even use some of our custom segments, like based upon whether someone's watched a video on our channel or they visited some pages on our site. We can even start layering those in as well. And of course, there are a couple limitations here. You will find that not all life events, not all demographics show up in this particular interface. So you do want to double check and make sure. But for the most part, all affinity and all in markets will. So you can be really detailed and specific if you want to when it comes to who you're actually targeting. All right, finally ready for the best one out of all of these. Definitely save the best for last, but do start within market just so you get your campaigns up and running. And that's going to be custom intent. Now, this is just insanely cool. So there's two different ways this works. We could either give them both ways. We give them Google a set of keywords, but we can give them a set of keywords and target people based upon their interests around those keywords. So it's kind of like creating a custom affinity audience, or we could create an audience of people based upon what they've already searched in Google. So we can give them a list of keywords and say, hey, show my video ads to people who've made these searches recently on Google. And so either one, you're going to want to test both, but this is just one of those areas where you play with it a couple times and you realize just how awesome and detailed we can be. And unlike some of the other things where we get overly detailed with demographics or life events, these audiences are large enough where we're most likely not going to be paying an arm and a leg where we're saying moms over 40 in the top 20% bracket, and now we're paying 50 cents a view, versus what we can do here, we're still probably paying 15 to 30 cents a view. So it's really detailed, and we're not being overcharged for it. Super cool. So let's go ahead and say I am running a Facebook ads agency, right? So here are a couple of just different ideas I would go through. So first, I would think about keywords that someone who's interested in Facebook ads would be searching. Then I would think about different softwares or solutions they're already using. And then I might also think about, hey, who are they following, right? Who are some influencers specific to Facebook ads, right? And so we'd go ahead and make these nice little lists. You can make a list for yourself. And then we can go ahead and plug these in to Google Ads and actually create some audiences to target people inside of YouTube. I'm getting overly excited. Let's just jump back into the interface. So I'm going to cancel out of our combined segments here. So I've clicked on Tools and Settings, and I've clicked on Audience Manager, and then we're going to click on Custom Segments. And you can see here I have a couple, but we'll go ahead and create a new one. So we can click the blue plus button. I'll go ahead and drop in the name of the custom segment, and then I'll leave it on interest or purchase intentions. But if we're going back over to the Google Ads Playbook example here, if I was putting in the list of keywords, then I would go ahead and click on people who searched, right? So I'll go ahead and drop in my list of landing page softwares. And presumably now I'm targeting at least marketers or business owners who are using software that other Facebook advertisers use. Now, this is a little broad, right? Because I don't know if this person's working for a marketing company and they're using these page softwares, or it's the actual business owner, which is why, of course, I'd have to test. But hey, maybe if I'm doing a Facebook ads course, then that would apply to marketers who want to improve their skills, and it would apply to business owners who want results from their Facebook ads. Now, something that's really ninja is you could actually go ahead and start typing in URLs if you use purchase intentions of login pages. And so shout out to Solutions 8. I believe that's the YouTube channel I saw this on. I was like, I've got to try that. It looks really cool. And so essentially what you can do is, let's say we go to Unbounce lead pages at Expresso. And instead of just putting in their names, we put login or sign in .unbounce.leadpages.adexpresso, whatever the actual page is. And that's because in Chrome, remember that search, that URL box at the top is also the search box. So every time someone types in the URL and goes there, Google's also being able to see where they're going. And so presumably we would be targeting, oh boy, we would be targeting people who not only are interested in these softwares, but they're actually using these softwares. And so that's something that's really cool that we've tested a couple times and seen some pretty awesome results with. And so that's custom segments or custom intent, and they call it custom segment in here. And this is the type of audience targeting you really want to start playing with after you have some in-market or affinity campaigns under your belt. And that does it for all of your audience targeting options. Now, we'll also run through keywords and placements. I'm going to skip topics for this one because you just should not bother using topics. And then we'll go ahead, jump back into the interface and build out your ad groups. If you are done with all of the targeting options, you're like, Jason, stop talking. Let's go back to the setting up the campaign. Then here's the timestamp to skip ahead and do that. Now, when it comes to keywords, it's important to remember that it's a content style targeting. It's not audience style. So unlike the other options we have when it comes to keywords and placements for that matter, I'll just keep saying both. We are targeting we're trying to find content that we believe our ideal customers are actually engaging with, as opposed to following our ideal customers around irrespective of what they're watching or reading. And that's a really big distinction, especially when you start looking at where your ads show up and you go, this makes no sense. Why would my ad show up on that video? It's because we're trying to follow the person versus here with keywords, we're trying to target specific types of videos. So the best way to do this is to, of course, kick things off with the keywords you already have. So hopefully you have some keywords either from your Google search campaigns or from your content marketing. And if you don't have any keywords, then this is probably not the best place to start, because then you have to go do research, and you could do research while other campaigns are live and running, right? But to do keyword research, it's going to be really simple compared to like SEO or even Google search ads. Inside of your ads account, we're going to come up here to tools and settings, and then we're going to click on keyword planner. And so if you're not quite sure what to do here, we'll go ahead and click on discover new keywords. Here's a list of what I like to call seed keywords. So think of whatever your product or service is, and then think of 3 to 5 max keywords that describe your offer, not describe content related to your offer, describe your actual paid offer. So if I was offering Facebook ad services, then I would drop in keywords like Facebook ads agency, Facebook ads manager. I would not start with Facebook ads tutorial if I wanted to generate leads. If I was just looking to grow my channel, then how to do Facebook ads tutorial, awesome. I would totally use those types of keywords. So here what I'll do is I've dropped those 2 in, and of course you can use this list to come up with 2 or 3. That's all you need. And then we'll go ahead and click on get results. And then Google, of course, is going to give us a list of keywords it thinks is related to our first 2. So we have agency and manager. So I'll just go ahead and click these. And then what you're going to do is scroll down here and click all the keywords that you think are related to whatever your product or service is. Now, if you're trying to just grow your channel, you don't care about sales, then you do how-to style searches similar to whatever research you did for your channel content, right? In which case you could skip this part because you already have your keywords. But you just scroll down here, we look for keywords related to our offer. And once you've selected 10 to 20 keywords, you can come up here to add keywords to create a plan. And once you do, we can hop over to the keyword plan. And once you're in plan, you can see a list of all your keywords. Obviously, I would be a little more detailed here. And so whether you're doing keywords for products or services, or you're doing tutorial-based keywords because you're promoting content, you're going to want to go ahead and click on this button to download them. And there's two things you can do at this point. We can go create a custom intent audience based upon the keywords, which is what I'll do in a moment. Or we could just go and create a campaign targeting each one of these keywords per ad group. And I realize it's a little annoying, but that's why you see in the YouTube Ads Playbook linked up in the description here, we just have one keyword per ad group because of the way Google does its reporting. You just don't know what's working unless you only have one targeting option per ad group. It's really annoying, but let's go ahead, jump back into the interface and create a custom intent campaign or custom intent audience, even though it's technically not using keywords directly. This is the way Google wants us to start using our keywords. So I'll jump back in here. I'll exit out of the keyword plan and I'll click on tools and settings and I'll come over here to audience manager and then custom segments and I'll click the plus button. And so what I'll do here is, just for time purposes, here's our tutorial based keywords. I'll go ahead and drop them in here and then I'll say something like Facebook ads terms. And so here I'm going to select terms. So this way we're making sure we're taking all these keywords and we're saying, hey, Google, if they search this on Google, show them my ad, right? And so again, this is an indirect way of using keywords, and this method works with all campaign types, unlike using keywords directly. And so I realize that's a little confusing. Timestamps below, or you could just comment below and be like, you totally messed that up. I have no idea what you're talking about. Either way, we can use keywords directly by creating an ad group for each one individually, or we can create a custom intent audience like this using terms, and then we can go ahead and target them as a group. And as you can see here, weekly impressions of 1 to 5 billion. I mean, that's a lot of people. So we're bound to find some combination that works. But when it comes to keyword research, that's how you can use the keyword planner. You don't need to overthink it. Be really broad. This isn't like SEO research where you have to find like these super long-tailed niche specific keywords. Keep it broad. In fact, those long ones might actually hurt your performance, not actually help as well. That does it for keyword research. I'd say it's the second best type of content targeting, right behind placements, which is of course using actual channels. All right, now what makes placements so special compared to all the other targeting options we have available to us is this is about as detailed as we can be when we say, hey Google, only show our videos or our ads on the specific video or next to this specific video or with this specific channel's content. And it is a tremendous amount of targeting power that comes with a pretty big price tag and cost as well. More on that in a little bit though. First, if you want to use placement targeting, I don't recommend using it with in-stream ads. Yes, in-stream ads are perfect for driving traffic off of YouTube, but for whatever reason, we've found that a lot of the campaigns we set up when we try and use placement targeting with an in-stream ad, they just don't run. Now, according to Google, they should run, but they just don't. And we've had some clients where we got a couple to work, and we've had other clients where we have upped the budget to just hundreds of dollars a day. And we're like, we will pay $5 a view if you show our video. And Google just still sits back and says, no, we're not going to. So as a general rule of thumb with placements, I like using them for in-feed, not necessarily in-stream. Should you test it? Of course, but just don't be shocked or think you did something wrong when it doesn't work with your skippable in-stream ads. So with that little asterisk out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the options we have available to us. So we can target specific channels, we can target specific videos. Then Google has this new option where they've essentially grouped types of videos for us by country, which is really cool. And then of course, we could also target apps and websites. Now I'm going to X off videos and I'm going to X off sites and apps because we're running on YouTube, so sites and apps doesn't really help us. And videos for the most part, unless something's getting thousands upon thousands of views per day, the video just doesn't have enough of an audience size for us to target, or like I mentioned earlier, there's a price to pay. You're going to pay a lot of money to just show up on that one video. And chances are your conversion rates or the interaction rates you get from paying that premium is not going to cover the cost. Where you'll find out it's just actually more cost effective to target the entire channel or target this entire niche than try and target that one specific video you think every single one of your customers is watching, because it's just going to be really, really expensive. Okay, well, note to self, check the memory card before you hit record, because it might almost be out of space. So let's jump back in. We're talking about the channel targeting and of course the lineups. So first, when it comes to channel targeting, we're going to have 4 different options here. Really just 3, but 4 because I get questions about it. So first, we're going to have a $1 million+ bracket. Then we're going to have a 500K+ bracket, 500 to $1 million. And then we're going to have the micro, which is going to be 100,000 subs to 500,000 subs, which humbly I would say this channel falls in that micro category by just 20,000 subs. And then we're going to have the majority of the rest of the channels that you most likely come across that are under 100,000. And so there are a couple of reasons we want to do this. First, we want to get a sense of which types of channel targeting is going to work. Do we want to be really broad in terms of channels that our entire industry is looking at? Do we want to be a little more focused with niche style channels? Or can we be really focused and go like zero in micro? I'll go through an example for the entrepreneurship / marketing niche so you can see what I mean. And then of course we have the rest, and these are going to become your campaigns. So you're going to want about 5 channels for each. You can have more, but 5 is plenty. Now, when it comes to how on earth do you find out what channels you should be putting here? Well, it's really simple. You just head over to YouTube and search for some tutorials on whatever it is that you're promoting. So let's say I'm doing Facebook ads. So in one tab here, I just typed in Facebook ads. And then in the other tab, I typed in Facebook ads tutorial. And then I look at the channels that pop up, and I'd go ahead and start clicking through them to see if they are about Facebook advertising, if they're about marketing, or they just happen to do a one-off video, right? So you do want to make sure that you don't just add all these channels in. You wanted to go through and click and make sure that each one of these channels that you're looking at didn't just make a one-off video, right? That they're actually about your niche or subject, because every once in a while that happens. Like, for example, this channel, Daryl Wilson, he has a lot of tutorials about a lot of different things. So even though he has a Facebook ads tutorial, I wouldn't want to include his channel because he has so much content that's not related. Versus, let's see, Ben Heath, I mean, I think his is all about Google and Facebook ads. So that would be perfect. And scrolling down here, this guy, he has a couple, but there's a lot of videos that are not related to my audience, right? They talk about things that aren't related to business owners. So you'd want to just go through, click through these different channels. HubSpot, I know I would definitely try targeting. So that's all there is to channel targeting, is just making sure that does that channel, for the most part, make content that your ideal customer would actually be interested in. And then of course I'd go ahead and start grouping them together. So as an example, if I was doing this, promoting some sort of Facebook ads service or course, my really broad targeting would be entrepreneurs that everyone knows, like Gary Vee, Cardone, Lopez, Hormozi, right? And so this would just be, hey, am I going to get the people I need by targeting these really large channels? And then once I have these broad channels, I'm going to go a little more specific, targeting channels like Neil Patel or Russell Brunson. Not to say that they're small influencers by any means, or these other channels are tiny. It's just that they're more focused on the style of content in terms of the broader content of marketing versus the broader content of entrepreneurship. So hopefully that makes sense. And then if I was to go even smaller, then I would start targeting channels like Loves Data, Measure School, Miles Beckler. And so these channels are, and Surfside PPC, that are very specific towards creating advertising for the types of customers that I would be interested in. And then of course I could include smaller channels as well. And we're just going to give maybe $2.50, $5 a day to each one of these campaigns and see what happens, right? Because you never really know. You might find that the 500K channel, range does really well, while the $1 million+ channel range, you get a lot of views really cheap, but then nobody takes action, right? And then you might find normally what I find is those smaller audiences, if it's less than 500K, like a channel like this one, you just wind up paying a lot of money per view because there's just not much ad space. And so there's this balance of being big enough where you're not overpaying, but not being so big where you get a bunch of people who just aren't really relevant, right? And so that does it for channel targeting, and that's all you need to do when it comes to figuring out what channels to target. Now, when it comes to lineups, Google and YouTube have essentially created a library of content types. And so when you're in the Google Ads interface and you're setting up your campaign, they have a lot of different topics and subjects. And so you can go ahead and test them. Personally, I haven't used them. I'm still set on using in-market custom intent and channel targeting like we just talked about. But hey, placements are always something to test, and maybe these new lineups that Google has for us actually wind up working. All right, now that we have a full rundown of all of the different targeting options and what we could do, I'm going to essentially ignore most of them and just use in-market for our first ad group. So jumping back into the interface here, I'm going to, inside of our new demo campaign, I'll click the blue plus button here, and I'll go ahead and name our ad group in-market SEO, SEM services. I like being just really descriptive with whatever we are targeting in the ad group because we're only going to put one thing in the ad group. Like I always say one thing, and then I'm going to make an asterisk, right? There's always, it depends. I am going to come down here and uncheck 18 to 24. But all this other stuff, all these other demographics, we can leave alone because Google's going to give us the data on whether any of these matter. Spoiler alert, most of the time they don't. So we'll go ahead and click on audience segments here. And once it loads, we can go and click on browse. I'm going to come to in-market life events, in-market, and then I'm going to go scroll down to business services, and under advertising services, I can click SEO and SEM. And that's it. That's all you want to do. You want to have one option here, and that's it. If you want to test other ones, then make other ad groups. And if you want to test other types, then make another campaign. So if I wanted to, let's say for instance, I wanted to test affinity, then I would just make another campaign and make a bunch of ad groups with affinity. So here we're done. You'll see this reach more people with similar to your selected audiences. Do not click this. This is just like giving Google a blank check. Like, we want to know if this specific audience works. Then we could say, okay, Google, try and find more people. But we don't want them to try and find people if we don't know the people that we already asked for convert. I think that made sense. Okay, let's just continue. And I'll go ahead and skip ad creation. We'll go ahead and do the ads in a moment. So I'll go ahead and click on skip. We'll enter our CPV. I'm going to say 15 cents. That should be plenty. Save ad group. And then we're going to get this dialog box, skippable in stream or in feed. This is one of the places where we can't undo, right? So I'm going to click skippable in stream because I want to generate leads and sales. If I wanted to just grow a channel, then I would click in feed, right? Skippable in stream is going to cost more, and that's where we're paying after someone watches for 30 seconds. So we'll go ahead and click on save format there, and we have our ad group. So now we can go ahead and create one more. So I'm going to go much faster. So we'll click the blue plus button again. I'll go ahead and drop this in. We'll do email marketing for this one. So under demographics, I'm going to uncheck 18 to 24 because I did with the other ad group. I want them all the same here for demographics. Then we'll come into audience segments. And once it loads, we'll click on browse. You'll see here under search, it actually has email marketing for me because Google's being smart, figuring out what I want. But just for example's sake, I'll come back to browse, in market again. I'll come down to business services, and then we will find email. Nope, that's not what I want. Then we'll find email marketing services. Perfect. We have our one targeting option. That's it. So we'll go ahead and skip our ad creation. Yes, we want to skip. And once we save and add our bid, we will say in stream. If you want to test in feed, do it in a different campaign. You'll notice how much we have to segment things by campaign. We'll go ahead and click save format. And with that, we have our two ad groups. So if there were any other in-market audiences we wanted to test, we could go ahead and add a couple more ad groups. Although within market, you're probably going to cap out around 4 or 5, and then it just kind of becomes not specific enough. And of course, once you've done this, you could actually copy these campaign settings and try it with a different audience style. But for now, let's go ahead and jump into the hard, fun part, depending upon how you look at it, and that's going to be our ads. All right, when it comes to ad formats, we have a lot of options, and really, only 2 of them actually matter. But we'll run through all of them relatively quickly, and then we'll dive into the 2 that we should be focusing on and using. So we have non-skippable in-stream, we have skippable in-stream, we have bumper, then we have in-feed, then we have outstream, then we have masthead, and then we have responsive. So out of all of these options, skippable, in-stream, and in-feed ads are really the only ones you want to use. And responsive is just a combination of these 2, showing us that Google themselves knows which one of these actually works. And so they decided to take the 2 that work and try and put them together. But more on that in a little bit. Now let's quickly run through how each one of these differ, and then we'll get into how to use the best 2 and the best targeting options to combine to make sure that you maximize your budget. So first off, let's start with non-skippable in-stream ads. Now, these are relatively simple. They run for 10 to 15 seconds before someone watches a video automatically, and people have no option to skip. So as soon as it starts playing, we pay for the view. Skippable in-stream ads, on the other hand, they also autoplay in front of normal YouTube videos, but after 5 seconds, you have the option to skip. And we've all had our mouse or our finger right over that skip button. So as soon as it hits 5, we hit skip and watch the video we actually wanted to watch. And with these, we actually only pay after 30 seconds or a click. Again, more on that in a bit. Bumper ads, just like the first one, we have those play automatically, but they're only 6 seconds. And again, they cannot be skipped. These are really only good for big brands who are just trying to maintain brand awareness and remind us the next time we're at the supermarket, we should, buy their cookies versus the other brand or whatnot, or we need to stock up on more dog or cat food, right? So these are just really just designed for brand awareness to remind us. So when we're in the store looking at all the different pasta sauces or all the different chips, for some reason, we're psychologically manipulated because we saw the bumper ad so many times, we wind up choosing the chips that they want, like Doritos over Ruffles or whatever. So I think I spent way too much time on that. Long story short, we don't need to use them. Okay, then we have in-feed ads. These I really like for brand awareness and of course growing channels, because these are ads that people will click on, whether it's in their mobile feed, it's as a suggested video on their homepage, or in search results. Unlike most of the other ones here, you actually have to click on this to see the video and pay for the view. Then we have outstream. These run on videos that aren't necessarily on YouTube, and they're just like they sound. They pretty much just automatically play at the end of a video, and they're a giant waste of money. And YouTube and Google are in a little bit of trouble for kind of squeeze these into other campaign types. I won't get into that though, because you won't have that problem because you're not going to try and use those. Then we have the masthead, and these are the big ads that show up on the YouTube homepage. So unless you're shelling out lots and lots of money, we could just go ahead and skip these. We're not going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on those types of ad deals. And then finally, we have responsive. And this is Google and YouTube's brilliant idea to combine skippable in-stream ads and in-feed ads into one ad type if you want to run a conversion-focused campaign. Now, if that doesn't make any sense, that's okay, because we're really only going to focus on the 2 that you should learn to master, which is the skippable in-stream to drive action and sales and leads off of YouTube, or the in-feed, which is to create brand awareness, grow your channel, so you can then drive action off of YouTube. So either way, you're going to wind up using in-stream ads eventually. It's just a matter of, if you're growing a channel, then it's awesome to use in-feed ads in front of in-stream ads, because it's kind of like you get to grow your channel and promote your stuff at the same time. Kind of cool. But what really matters, the difference between these 2, is how we wind up paying for them. So with in-feed ads, we are going to pay as soon as someone clicks, right? They're scrolling through, they're watching a video, and they're like, oh, that one's suggested, and they click on it. We pay for the view. And because of this, the views are going to be a lot higher, and they are going to be way less expensive than in-stream. So when it comes to in-stream ads, on the other hand, these are going to autoplay. So we've all watched YouTube. In fact, unless you're on premium, you probably saw an ad before this one, right? Before watching this video. And so that automatically plays, and after 5 seconds, they can skip. So if they skip, we don't pay. If they watch 15 seconds, we still don't pay. 20 seconds, don't pay. 25, no. 29 seconds, and they skip, we don't pay. But as soon as it hits 30 seconds, then we pay, right? I probably drew that out way too much. You're like, yeah, I know it's 30 seconds. Like you're counting up to a whole number. So when it comes to that 30-second mark, when someone watches past 30 seconds, we pay YouTube for that view. And if someone clicks anytime, even if the ad is over and they click the little companion banner that shows up next to the video that they're watching, and maybe they watch 5 minutes of the video and they go, okay, well, maybe I'm interested in that ad, and then they click, then we pay. So 30 seconds or when they click. And so what's really great about this is we're only paying for people who are really interested in what we have to offer, which is pretty cool. And of course, the downside of this is we wind up paying a lot more per view. And so one final note here when it comes to these ad formats is if you are running campaigns to drive leads and sales off of YouTube, eventually you're going to have to use these responsive ads. But you don't want to use the responsive ads, that's these two combined, until you know that your in-stream ad is working. And so how do you make sure that your YouTube ad is actually working? Well, follow this little chart for what targeting to use with these placements. So if you have an skippable in-stream ad and you're running it to a in-market, affinity, custom intent, remarketing audience, and it's working, you're getting the results that you're looking for, then you can try creating a conversion-based video campaign that uses responsive ads. But only after you know your video works do you want to give Google that much control. And then if you're doing brand awareness or growing your channel, you're going to want to stick to content style targeting, like placements, targeting other channels, keywords, and then of course topics. And the reason you want to do this is those targetings are of course much broader, which means you're going to pay less per view. In feed ads is just a numbers game. How cheap can we get as many views as possible? Because you're going to get so many useless clicks. It is ridiculous how many people will click on your video and then bounce out after 5 seconds. So we don't want to pay a premium at all. But within stream ads, we want those targeted audiences because we're only paying after 30 seconds. So we know that they're actually really interested in what we have to offer, which is why I always say this, I like starting in stream with an in-market because it's so easy to know, hey, are ads actually working? Or no, we're targeting people who want to buy our product or service and they're not clicking on our in-stream ad. So obviously it's the ad, right? As opposed to, I don't know if I'm targeting the wrong people, or I don't know if it's my ad, I don't know if it's my settings. And so this is just a really quick and easy way to make sure that you are testing your video and you're, of course, using the right format. I think I got a little lost there. And so that does it for a real quick rundown of the different ad types you have available to you, and really why in the previous step we just went ahead and chose to do in stream, because that is going to get us the leads and sales that we are looking for. So now let's talk about the ad itself. Now here's a quick rundown of the YouTube ad script. Of course you can add to it. This is just a framework to help you get in the right state of mind and know where on earth to start, so we all skip that dreaded blank page syndrome. And of course you can use any of your favorite AI softwares to help you work through this formula as well. So we want to start with a hook because we want to immediately call out who this ad is for and then eliminate the other 90% of the viewers who are never going to purchase or join our email list in the first place, because we don't pay until it goes to 30 seconds. So we want to use this free time so that by the time someone makes it to 30 seconds, we are really sure that they are at least a good prospect or fit for whatever we are offering. So we want to make it really clear who the offer is for and how it does these awesome things for them, or how it eliminates some of the pain that our ideal customer is dealing with. And so around the 20 to 30 second mark, we go from the hook into the call to action, which is telling them to click or tap the blue banner at the bottom of the video, because you don't know if it's on mobile or desktop. So if you just say blue button at the bottom of this video, then whichever ad format they are watching, they know to click or tap it to go to your website. And then we slow down the pace a little bit and we address a big result that our ideal customer is after, or a big pain point or roadblock that they are dealing with. Essentially, we have about a minute or 45 seconds where we are empathizing with their situation, where we essentially say, hey, I know you're really struggling with this. I know that this has been really hard, but actually you don't have to deal with all these pain points. There's a better way to get the result that you're looking for. And we want to paint a picture of how much easier it is to get to the result that they're looking for than they thought. And now, of course, if you have some sort of big course or you have a big service, you want to focus on whatever your free offer is, right? So we're not saying in one YouTube ad, we're going to solve all their problems, right? We want to be specific with one that they're dealing with and just help them take that first little baby step, give them a sense of motivation to start the momentum towards the ultimate goal that they want. Then we want to address the little voice in the back of their head, right? Because at this point, we've grabbed their attention, we've told them what to do. Click the blue button below this video to get started, to get the free thing, to learn more. And then we've empathized with their situation saying, hey, I understand that you're dealing with this. You actually don't have to deal with all these headaches. There's an easier, faster, better way. There's going to be a laundry list of reasons why they shouldn't click the ad, right? And so we just want to think about one, whether it's time, resources, experience, money. There's resources and money, kind of the same thing. There's always those common objections. And so we either want to handle one of those and saying, hey, most people believe they need a bunch of experience. Most people believe they need a big budget, or they believe they need lots of time. Well, you actually don't. Right? Or we go the other route and say, most people are told that, you need to do 3 hours of cardio a week to lose weight, right? And this is actually a big common myth, right? And so whatever it is, I'm just making it up. If you're a fitness person, don't comment below because everybody has their own thing about cardio now. And so whatever that myth or objection, you want to handle that. And finally, you wrap up with another call to action telling people to click or tap the blue button below the video to, of course, get whatever it is that you're offering. And that is all you need to do with the ad. It can be as simple as just picking up your phone and recording, right? Because you don't want to try and memorize all this. If you try and memorize all this, it's going to drive you crazy. And it's going to take you like 6 hours to record 90 seconds of video. And I know that from personal experience because it still happens to me. So do make sure that you don't try and memorize everything, because then you just kind of come across as a robot. And part of YouTube ads is the personality that comes through. And yes, there are people who like your personality, just like there are tons of people who don't like mine and always comment that I'm too overly excited about boring topics and that I talk way, way too fast. But that's beside the point. You can use the YouTube Ads Playbook linked up in the description to go through this formula and help you brainstorm your own ideas. And of course, use whatever favorite AI tool you have to plug some of these in to help you come up with some ideas for hooks and of course, stories and ways to empathize with your ideal customers. Okay, now it's time to actually get our ads inside of Google Ads so we can start running. So the first step you want to do is actually upload your video ads to your channel and make sure that you upload them as unlisted. So you can see here, here's an example. I've just given it a name so I know what it is. And then I've gone ahead and made sure it's unlisted. You want to make sure that it's unlisted so that as you upload more ads, they don't show up in your videos feed. You're not notifying your subscribers every time you make a new video ad. And of course, private means that it won't work with YouTube ads. So unlisted is the way to go. So I'll go ahead and copy the URL of the video, and I'll jump back over to Google Ads here. Inside of our campaign, I'll click on our first ad group here, SEO and SEM services. And when I do, it will automatically take me to the ads section. So you can see here on the left-hand side, I'm on ads, and up top, you can see I'm under all campaigns, this campaign, and then this ad group. So that's kind of how you can not lose track of where you are. So we'll go ahead and click the blue plus button here, and then I will drop in the URL of our video. And you'll see it's telling me 3 minutes because I talk way too much. You're like, yeah, I know, I've been sitting here for way long. Stop talking. Okay. And you can see that it's already set to skippable in-stream ad because when we created the ad groups, we had to make that decision then. So if you accidentally made the wrong decision, you have to make an entirely new ad group, which is not fun. So I'll go ahead through the power of editing, copy over the other information. And just like that, I've gone ahead and dropped in the URL of the landing page I'm sending traffic to. So here's an example of a very simple landing page template that we like to use. Check out the channel. We have full deep dive guides on how to create landing pages. But as you can see here, we just have a headline and a name and email, a couple bullet points, and then an about and another register, because this is built on MailerLite and you can't have those little pop-up things on MailerLite. But everything on this landing page was said in the video ad. So that is important. Whatever you say in your video ad should be really congruent with your landing page. So when people come to your landing page, it feels like they're in the right place. It's the same thing. And in fact, I actually have this image in the ad, right? And I use the same typography and colors, so it feels like a progression. Then we have our display URL. Now your display URL, it does need to be the root domain. So for example, if you're using a page builder and it's like yourname.systemi.io/XYZ, then the display URL has to be Systemi or ClickFunnels or Unbounce or Lead Pages or Kajabi, whatever else it is that you're using. And so you do want to make sure you set up a custom domain with whatever page builder you're using so you can have your brand name here. Otherwise, it's going to say whatever software name you're using in your ad, and that's not going to look as good. So then we have our call to action, learn more. If I delete that, you see we have a couple there. I just like using learn more. And then the headline, get more leads, you can see that's going to show up. If we go back to this preview here, you can see it shows up right here, get more leads, learn more. And then on desktop, it will say get more leads, learn more. And so it's really not that important, right? Your video ad is what's going to get people to click, not looking at 15 characters of text in the call to action. And then of course you have your URL options if you want to be fancy, and you can upload your own companion banner. And so if I come over here, you can see that on desktop, you see there's this right-hand side right here. There's our logo, and then it says get more leads, learn more. So you can actually create a custom image that shows up there. Honestly, most of the time I don't. I really should, but if you want to use Canva to make one in a couple minutes, you can. And then of course I give my ad a name, and then I'll go ahead and save the ad. And so once I've saved this ad, I would go back and of course upload at least 3 more, right? So you want about 3 or at least 2 more. You want 3 to 5, at least 3 to 5 videos in here. So YouTube and Google can kind of rotate through and figure out which one works. Most of the time it's just going to choose one and then use it for everything. But once you've uploaded all of them, we need to copy it to our other ad group. So to do that, I'll go ahead and select it. If I had multiple, I just select this, it would select all, and I'll click on edit and I will click copy. Then I will come back up to our campaign. So I'm in this ad group. So I'll click out to the campaign here and I'll click ad groups. I'll do this a long way. And then I'll click the other ad group that I have not created the ads for. So if I click email marketing services, we're under ads, nothing here. But now this paste button has appeared because I have a ad on the clipboard. So I'll go ahead and click on paste, and then it will automatically select the ad group that I am in. So I don't have to go scrolling through here trying to figure out which campaign to click. And I'll go ahead and click on done. You can pause after pasting, not really important. And we'll go ahead and paste it. It'll take a little bit, and then we'll have our ad here. So when you're going through creating your ads, you only need to do it once, and then you can just copy paste them to all of your other ad groups, right? And you can actually select multiple at once if you want to get fancy. I'm old school. I'll go to each individual ad group if I'm using the online interface, just because I don't want the ad accidentally being pasted in the wrong place. And now the ad has been pasted, I can come up here to click on the campaign, and you'll see under ads, we have 2. We have one in email marketing services and one in SEO and SEM services. So I can click on ad groups. Our campaign is now all set and ready to go. And with that, you are all set and good to go with your first campaign. So if you're still watching, at the very least, hit that like button. You are an absolute champion. We've gone through so much when it comes to getting started with Google Ads, all the way up to setting up your YouTube ads. You can tell the lighting's changed. I've been sitting here for hours. My voice is dead, but we've got 2 more sections to go. So strap in. We are almost done. We're going to do remarketing, and then we're going to talk about optimization. And at that point, you'll be savant master, right? So you're already a pro. Let's get to mastery, talk about some remarketing campaigns. All right. So when it comes to remarketing, it really doesn't matter how big or small or new or old your channel is, your website, your business, or anything, because whether it's day 1 or day 100, we need to set up remarketing lists because these things are going to continually work for us in the background. So when it comes to setting up a remarketing campaign inside of Google Ads for YouTube, it's pretty much the same process, right? We're still going to be setting up our campaign settings, choosing our placements and budgets. But then when we get to the ad group level, instead of choosing in-market, affinity, custom intent, or combined life events, now I'm hitting the mic, whatever, we're going to be targeting people based upon how they've interacted with our website or with our channel. And of course, we need to set those audiences up because Google doesn't do that for us. And then of course, in our ads are pretty much going to be the same, right? We don't have to be creepy and say, hey, I know you were watching my YouTube video, so check this out, right? Every once in a while I see those ads and yeah, you could have some fun and play with it. But for the most part, it just comes across as creepy and people don't like being told that you knew that they were on your website last week and that you didn't buy, right? So let's go ahead, jump into the ads interface here. And the first thing we need to do is set up our audiences. So from wherever you are, I'm going to jump out of my demo campaign here. I'm going to go to all campaigns. And of course, this is where you're going to see all campaigns, past, present, and future. And I don't know why I said that. Go to Tools and Settings and click on Audience Manager. And then under Audience Manager, it's going to, by default, load your data segments. And so you can see here, I have a lot set up because I was OCD. And I can tell you from personal experience, you don't have to work that hard. So there's only a couple that you need. So I'll go ahead and click this plus button so we can create audiences based upon people who visited your site, visited specific pages on your site, and then run video ads to those people. But here I'm going to focus on YouTube users. So once we open up YouTube users here, we'll go ahead and give our audience a name. And because I have 2 channels connected to this account, I'm just going to call it Aspire so I know which channel it's for. Tube means YouTube, and viewers over the past 90 days. Now, of course, we'll go ahead and select the channel that I want to use. And then you'll see here we have a bunch of actions. So we can target people based upon viewing any video on our channel, certain collections of videos, or videos as ads, subscribed, visited a channel page, all of these. So here's just a quick list of the remarketing audiences I recommend you set up, because unless you're getting millions of views, making little groups of like 5 or 6 videos and saying, I want to target people who just watch these videos, the audience is going to be too small to target, right? So I had lots of those. And even to this day, I reached 100,000 subs and I still don't have enough views to view them. Not to say that you're going to have the same growing pains that I did or continue to have with this channel, but it is something to note that you don't need to go super detailed with certain videos or like this collection and that collection, because the audience is just going to be too small for Google to serve, because to a certain extent, they don't want you having an audience of 100 people, right? Because they don't want you to be able to figure out who you're targeting with your ads. All right. So I'm going to say viewed any video over the past 90 days. And of course, you could do 7, 15, 30, 60, 90, and then the maximum is 540. So if I wanted to just say viewers, I would just say, do it like this and say lifetime, right? And that's 540. You can go ahead and populate the previous 30 days. So YouTube and Google does have this data. So I'd recommend doing that. But you can see why it's so important to just set all these up now, because 540 days, that's a long time. So this audience is going to grow in the background. Even if you decide to turn off your ads next week, at least this is going and this is growing. And so again, there's the list of what I recommend in terms of setting up these audiences. And with that, we're all good to go. I'll go and click cancel though, because I already have these set up. So once you have this, we're ready to go into the campaign structure and set up your campaign. So I'll go and click the back button here. And we're back to our campaigns. So I can click the blue plus button so I can create a new campaign, or I can load campaign settings. Now, if you already have campaigns set up, hopefully you've already done that following our advice on this channel, then you could just go ahead and click a previous campaign that you already set up. For example purposes, I'm just going to go from scratch. But of course, assuming that you've already set up campaigns, I'm going to go relatively quickly here. So I'll create it without goals or guidance. I'm going to do video, get views, and then we're just going to go ahead and click on continue. So here, this is going to be remarketing. Our bid strategy is going to be maximum cost per view. And for our daily budget, I'm just going to do $250 because I just want this to kind of run in the background. And even though I can't quantify the data, I can tell you my channel definitely grew faster when I had these kinds of campaigns just running in the background a couple dollars a day. So for editing, I'm just going to go ahead and make this start on the coming Thursday. You could tell the date. I always record these so far in advance. And then I'll actually let this run for a month. Normally I do 2 weeks, but since this is a remarketing campaign, I'll let it run for a month. Networks, uncheck video partners. For the locations, when you're setting up other campaigns, you want to be detailed with your locations, but here, just use the country that you want. You're not going to get enough data to analyze the segments of your location. So I'm going to say United States, English, and then under additional settings, I'm going to come to devices and uncheck TVs because I do not want to show up on TV screens. And then I will leave everything else alone. And then we can go ahead and click and come into creating our ad group. So this is going to be Aspire YouTube viewers over 90 days. And you're going to leave all of the demographic information alone. And we're going to come down to audience segments and we'll click on browse. And then you can see your data segments here. So when I click on that, we have website visitors and then we have YouTube users. And you can see here that I went way overboard with that. But let's go ahead and find our audience here. So we have AspireTube viewer over 90 days. So we have a audience size of about 150K. We'll just split it down the middle there. And then that's all we want to do in this ad group. So then we'd create an ad group for these other options. And spoiler alert, when it comes to which ad groups are actually going to work, the longer the duration, the more views that ad group is going to get. So for example, if I do 7 days, that's maybe 25K people. I'm not going to get that many impressions versus doing 90 days, that's 100K audience size. I have a pretty decent chance of catching those people, but I'd still make an ad group for each one just to see how it goes. So then of course we can skip down here. And of course we could go ahead and create our video ad as well. So I'll drop in my video ad URL. I'm going to choose to do skippable in-stream and fill this out. And just like that, our ad is good to go. I'll say /Google Ads, right? And so now this video is only going to show up to people who've watched any video on my channel. Now, of course, I don't know if they watched a Google Ads tutorial, a YouTube Ads tutorial, or something about consulting, right? So it's pretty untargeted in that regard, but at least I know I'm targeting people who maybe enjoyed 1 or 2 videos. So I'm not a complete stranger when I show up and start talking about trying to help them grow their business. So then we can go ahead and set our maximum CPV. Since I'm targeting a smaller audience, you're going to pay more for these views. So if anything, I'm actually going to go to 30 cents because I really want to show up to just these people. And then I can go ahead and click on create campaign. So in one fell swoop, we've set up our campaign settings. We've created our first ad group, which is viewers of anything on our channel over 90 days. And then we went into the copycraft and went ahead and just dropped in our ad. This could be the exact same ad you'd use on a cold audience too. It doesn't have to be creepy like, I know you're watching my channel right now. Like nobody wants to hear that, especially in some niches, right? And then I set the bid to 30 cents because it's just going to cost more to target these people. And I'll go ahead and click on create. And just like that, I have a campaign that's all set and good to go. And then all I would do is I click the plus button again, and I would create another ad group for the other time frames as well. And I'd of course use the exact same ad and just see which one works the best. And of course, I'll go back to all of our campaigns here. So hopefully you've got your remarketing campaign set up. And then of course you have your main YouTube ads campaign set up that's targeting cold audiences. And all that's left is to wait for the data to come in so we can actually start optimizing. All right, so we've done the hard work of setting up all your campaigns, right? So let's say it's been a week or 2, you have a bunch of data, now it's time to figure out what's actually working, or worse. In the last section, we'll talk about what happens when you don't get any impressions at all, even though Google said that your money should have been spent. Boy, okay, let's go ahead, jump into my screen here. So I'm inside the main campaign dashboard. The first thing we need to do when optimizing is make sure we're looking at the right data, right? So what you're going to want to do is come over here to columns, And you'll see here, I have a bunch of different ones here, but I'm going to go ahead and click on modify columns and create a new one from scratch. So again, the playbook linked up in the description will have all of the columns. Here's just a quick list of the columns I recommend using. So under performance, I like looking at clicks, costs, impression, views, view video played to, average cost per click, CPV, which is average cost per view. And then we have the view rate, which is essentially the percentage of people who saw the video or thumbnail and actually wound up watching it. And then if you are doing anything with conversion tracking on your site, you're going to want to see how many conversions you got and how much they cost you per conversion. And then of course the actual conversion rate from how many people clicked to how many people actually converted. And then finally, and I'm going fast here because you can see the list right there. Under competitive metrics, I like to look at display impression share and display lost rank and budget is, because this will tell me, am I not getting more views because my ad stinks, or am I not getting more views because I'm just not spending enough, right? And we'd always rather be money than YouTube telling us our ad stinks. So once you have all your column sets, you can come down here to save your column set, and then you can go ahead and just give it a name. So I'm going to do YouTube ad here, and you can always modify these, right? And so once we have that, I'll go ahead and expand to full screen. And of course, these are campaigns that aren't necessarily running, but as you can see, we can start looking at the impressions and views. We can start comparing view rates. So for example, you can see this campaign had a view rate of 22% versus 5 or 3%. But you also want to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples, right? Because these three, or these first couple, those are in-feed ads, right? Those are ones people are clicking on, versus this one was an in-stream ad. So you want to make sure that you're comparing the same ad formats, right? Because if you compare an in-stream and an in-feed, well, the in-feed is always going to have a higher view rate because people are forced to watch it. And there are lots of people who just let the video play, or maybe it's playing and they get distracted and then they come back and they go, oh, skip, but you know what? You already got charged or paid, right? And then the next column we look at is the average cost per view. So this is how much are we paying on average per view. And earned views tells us, okay, after someone watched one of our videos, did they keep watching? Now, this is only important when you're running really important when you're running in feed ads, right? If you're running in stream ads, you don't really care. You want people to click and go to your site. You don't want them to keep watching. And then video percent played to, this just kind of gives you a breakdown of how far people are making it through your video. And then to wrap up here, we have our competitive metrics, display lost rank is, and you can see here the in-stream ad, we're missing out on 70%, 78% of the time our ad doesn't show up is because YouTube is saying your ad stinks. Whereas over here, you can see here that it's 1.4%, means that YouTube likes this video. So we aren't missing out on impressions at all or opportunities for ad to show up because our ad creative stinks or we're targeting the wrong people. We aren't showing up because we're not spending money. And this is also very common when you look at in-feed versus in-stream, right? So these are all I'm missing out. 90% of the views I'm missing out on is because Google just wants more money. Whereas here, I'm not missing out on any views. Like I could give Google more money and Google's not going to show my video anymore because it thinks it stinks compared to who I am trying to offer it to. So in this regard, these campaigns, I'm good to go. Google likes the videos. This campaign, on the other hand, Google does not like the video. Google's telling me, you need to make a new video because we think it stinks. And you're going to pay a lot of money if you want to keep running this. Versus, something like down here, 0.03% for display lost rank is, that means your video is fine. That means whoever you're targeting and whatever your ad creative is, Google's like, yeah, people you're asking to show this video to, they're enjoying it, they're liking it, so we're not going to penalize you. Versus you can see down here, like these two, 85, 69, I've got the wrong videos, right? And so that's just part of figuring out where should we optimize. Because when this number is high, I know I'm spending a lot of time here. When this number is high, that's Google telling us our video stinks, we need to find a new audience, or we need to find a new video. And then of course, impression share just lets you know of the total amount of times you could have showed up, what's the percentage of time you did show up, right? So it's kind of like an aggregate of your budget and your rank put together. Not really super important. I'd much rather focus on rank for a little bit just to figure out whether or not YouTube and Google is trying to tell us that your ad stinks and it shouldn't run. But again, link in the description to our YouTube Ads Playbook that has all the columns and detailed descriptions of what each one of those means. Now, as you're looking at your data, we need to make sure that we have reached something called statistical significance. So as a general rule of thumb, when you're looking at your campaigns, make sure they have at least 1,000 impressions. So if I come in here and I filter by impressions, the lowest amount of impressions, I'm doing all time, so this probably isn't gonna work. You can see here that I have a bunch that have low impressions, right? So let's say this campaign right here, it got 120 impressions. That means it showed up 120 times. This is not enough for me to make any sort of decision, right? Because if the ad showed up 5 times and nobody watched it, you wouldn't turn off the campaign, right? You're like, well, it only showed up 5 times. So in this particular instance, you could see that this one showed up 2,000 times. So that means we're above that 1,000 threshold, and I can click into the campaign and start looking at, hey, what went on here, right? But if our ad only showed up 120 times and we only got 57 views, we got to keep going. There's just not enough data there for us to start making a decision. So once you do go into a campaign, like let's say I go into, where's one that has some? Here we go. Oh, this one's actually live. So let's say I go into a campaign, right? So you have, for my campaign total, I've had over 8,000 views and I've had 28,000 impressions, and just the ones that are live now are only at 500. But this would give me enough data where I could go in and I could start saying, okay, well, based upon my view counts here, it looks like if I'm looking at my view rate, it looks like they're all actually about the same. This was a terrible example. This is what happens when you do stuff live. Then you don't get a good one. And let's say through the magic of editing, I've gone to a different campaign. So you can see here, I have enough impressions and I can look at the view rates, and simply put, I can see that this ad group got a better view rate than this one. And so all I do is I would just turn off the one that didn't work, and I would try a different targeting option, or I would try a different ad creative inside a new ad group. And that's really all there is to it, to optimization and making sure that you're at statistical significance. Because at the end of the day, if I jump back out to all of our campaigns, when you're just getting started with optimizing, your one goal is to figure out, where is your audience? Where is your target, right? So following the advice of this channel and all the tutorials so far, you would have made sure that each one of your campaigns is targeting one option. So you'd have a campaign that targets in market. You'd have a campaign that targets affinity. You'd have a campaign that targets placements or keywords. And then you look and see, hey, keywords are getting me really good results, but affinity is not. So what do? You just turn off affinity. That's it. It's literally all optimization is seeing which one works better and turning off the ones that don't. And when it comes to optimizing your ads, once you know which audiences are working, it's the same thing. You look at 2 ads and you say, this one got more view, this one got better view rates than this one, or this one got more clicks or more conversions than this one. So you just turn off the one that didn't, right? And so you slowly go through this process of, you have all these ads, you have all these campaigns, you have all these ad groups, and you slowly just start turning off the ones that don't work. And eventually you're left with the ones that perform the best. Now, there is one instance where this very simple optimization formula doesn't work. And that is when one particular ad group sucks up all the budget. So we'll go through a really basic example here using a diagram so I don't click through different parts of the Google Ads account trying to find a perfect example. So let's say we have our campaign. You can see one ad group spent $20, the other 4 or 5. Well, this is a problem, right? We can't make a good analysis if one ad group is getting, the majority of the budget. So what we have to do is we have to create a new campaign specifically for that ad group that's sucking everything up so that we can learn about the others. Now, it's a little counterintuitive, but here's what you would do. So we have 2 campaigns now, but what we would do is we would copy the original campaign, and in that new copy, we let the ones that didn't run, we let those run. We let the ones at $5 or $4 ad spend run, and we turn off that $20 one. Then in the original one, we turn off all but the one that was spending $20. And And the reason we do it that way is we still want the data that's in the old campaign, and the other ones didn't run all that much anyway. And so essentially what happens is you have your original campaign with one ad group that was sucking up all the budget, and you just say, hey, spend $3 a day now because you're taking all my money. And then in the new campaign that you duplicated, you maybe spend $5 a day. And now all of a sudden those ad groups that didn't get a chance to perform because they were stuck in the same campaign with the budget hog, they now have a chance to thrive and actually get some data. And so that pretty much covers optimization. Again, link in the description to our YouTube Ads Playbook that has all the details and some more ideas on how to optimize. But it really is just about making sure your budget is evenly spread out across your different ad groups and you're learning about which audiences are performing the best. And so hopefully going through one of those steps allows you to figure out why on earth your ads aren't running. Because let's be honest, you've been here a really long time. So it's frustrating to go through all of this work and then just not have a campaign that's getting any views or impressions. So if you're still watching, hit that like button and subscribe for tutorials that are a whole lot shorter than this, because I've been sitting here for 6.5 hours recording. That is the power of editing and how many times I had to take. Of course, you could tell because the lighting's different and even my computer's telling me I should go to sleep. So thank you so much for sticking with me. I sincerely hope you feel like you have everything you need to get started with YouTube ads. There's so much in there, and I'm sure I could probably keep talking another day or two, but I'm tired. It's time for me to go find some dinner, and I'm sure you're sick of hearing my voice. So again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you download that YouTube Ads Playbook in the description to help you with all of your research, staying organized, and of course, coming up with those ad scripts. And until the next, keep building the business you love.